Finally, a gimbal that I can use for professional work that doesn't weigh 800 pounds and doesn't suck. What's up? My name is Jay LeBlanc, wedding photographer and photo video educator. I recently got my hands on the Zhiyun Cinepeer Weebill 3E. And let me tell you, this is a small but powerful gimbal. I did another video where I did my initial impressions of this gimbal, and I'll link that for you above, so go check that out. This video is going to be more about how this gimbal holds up at a wedding versus a review of all the new features that this gimbal brings, but be sure to check out that other video if you're looking for more information. Now let's get started! Am I the only person who gets a new gimbal and just moves it as fast as possible to really test, like, hey, he's staying stable? You're doing a pretty good job. Now before we get into it, I'm gonna let you know right off the bat, this wedding was a little bit different than a normal wedding. I didn't shoot any of the getting ready. I just started right off with the first look, and we had a very untraditional wedding ceremony, and you'll see more about that later. Now throughout this video, I'm gonna give away some secrets about shooting a wedding. So if you're interested in shooting weddings yourself, be sure to listen carefully. I feel like gimbal should come with a lightsaber attachment. It'd just be so much fun just breaking that out during cocktail hour with the other videographer. Be like, gimbal lightsaber fight, let's go, buddy. Now I'm not here to show you a full-blown wedding video, but I am here to show you how this gimbal works. Now right off the bat, this gimbal retails for $249, but until July 7th, Zhiyun's running a sale on this gimbal, taking 10% off. And even better, they gave me a discount code for you to save an additional 10%, bringing this gimbal down to $199. That is ridiculously cheap for a gimbal that I am going to use at future weddings. $199. You heard it here first, folks. You want to get into wedding videography and you want a cheap gimbal that you know can do the job? Check this one out. You can look at other brands, but I'm going to be honest, you're going to pay more with them. So give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? You really enjoy it and you have fun playing with it like I do. I want to tell you, this gimbal comes with a pretty sweet app that you can use on your phone. So we're going to check out this app right here. We're going to launch it and we're going to connect it to the gimbal. Click connect now. Oh, look, I have an update. I'm going to allow my location only this time. I don't know why every app needs your location all the time. It's just a Bluetooth connection. It's right here next to it. You don't need my location. But every app nowadays, for some reason, wants your location. Anyway, hey look, it found it. We're going to enter now. Now, really cool feature is that we can control the gimbal from your phone. Like, I'm going to turn it right, and I'm going to turn it left. And if you think that I'm controlling it with my left hand, check it out. I'm going to put it down on my desk. We're going to see what happens. We're going to go to the right. Oh, snap. And we're going to go to the left. That's pretty cool. One feature that I think is really cool, but I'm still trying to get used to it, is this mode, where we hit our three little dots and we're gonna sync motion to our phone. We gotta turn on this little switch, and now as I turn my phone, the gimbal moves. And I think it's a really cool feature, using like the gyroscopic sensor in your phone to mimic the motion in the gimbal. Sometimes I like to just move my phone as fast as I can, see if the gimbal keeps up. I'm not too good at controlling it yet, I'll be honest with you, this is new to me, but it's a really cool feature. So with that app, being able to remotely control my gimbal, I had this great idea. I was gonna go to the ceremony and I was gonna take my gimbal and put it down right in the middle of the aisle, because I hate when I shoot weddings as a photographer, I just have to sit in the middle of the aisle waiting for moments to happen, or I'm roaming around the edges and my other photographers sit in the aisle. It's kind of like an unavoidable type of situation you have to be in. So what my idea was, is I'm just gonna go put my gimbal down where I would normally sit in the middle of the aisle waiting for moments, and then stand all the way at the back with the little app and be able to control the gimbal and move it around. I was gonna be able to pan to the parents on either side. I could turn it to look at the bridal party. I don't know, I was just thinking of all the possibilities of things that I can do. And then it was time for the ceremony, and they threw a total curveball at me. They decided to do this like little tiny ceremony that they wanted nothing formal. The bride and groom just walked over to a nice little shady area underneath a tree with the officiant. Everybody kind of just stood around in a semicircle, and this ceremony lasted all of about 75 seconds. Basically a quick little vow, I do, ring exchange, kiss, we're done. I'm pretty sure they set the record for the fastest ceremony that I've ever seen, and I've shot over 500 weddings. So congratulations to the two of you. You now hold the record. But it was a great idea in theory, and I definitely will try it out at another wedding. Just don't have footage of it at this wedding because things didn't go as they normally go. What are you gonna do? It's a wedding. People want to make it personal and make it part of their own day. It is what it is. But I will recommend this. If you are gonna shoot a wedding, try and be as discreet as possible. And my whole idea of getting my physical body out of the aisle so the guests can focus more so on the wedding ceremony and less on me sitting there. Because I know every time that I'm kneeling in the aisle at a wedding ceremony, I have grandma to my right and Aunt Susie to my left just watching me, wondering what I'm doing, breaking out the iPad, shooting over my shoulder because you know the iPad's definitely taking a better picture than my camera. And then I have Uncle Jim hanging out over my other shoulder with his little camera that he bought from Best Buy 15 years ago. And doesn't it take good pictures? Yeah, sure, Uncle Jim. Great pictures. I love what you're doing there. Do me a favor before we go any further. Please, all I ask, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, drop a comment below about your favorite fruit. Let's just see how many people can comment their favorite fruit. Curious, I don't know. Let's see what happens. So what I really loved about this gimbal at the wedding was the weight of it. It's so light. It is so small and so compact. I'm coming from the DJI Ronin S, and that gimbal is huge, if you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, lucky for you, I have it right here. Look at the size difference between these two gimbals. I'm gonna have to back up so the whole thing will fit into the frame. It is a massive difference. And I'll tell you this, the DJI gimbal alone by itself versus the Zhiyun Cinepeer Weebill 3E with a camera on it, they weigh almost about the same. Kind of crazy, right? So the weight alone was one thing I loved right off the bat. I have to carry this thing around for an entire day. And being able to not completely stress out my forearms from holding it so tight or getting the sickest bicep and shoulder workout ever was a huge benefit right off the bat. As soon as I picked this up for the first time, I knew that I was gonna like it just because of the size and weight of it alone. And at the end of the day, when I would normally feel fatigued, my arms would be a little bit tired, I didn't experience that after this wedding. So that was a huge win right there. Now the actual application of using a smaller gimbal, it's good because it weighs so much less, but it can't handle the bigger lenses. But let's be honest, how often are you really putting a long lens on a gimbal? I don't know too many people that shoot with a 70-200 on a gimbal. For the most part, you're shooting those medium to wide angle lenses. So this gimbal handles those fine. I will say that I do have the RF 28-70, and that does not work on this gimbal, unfortunately. It's my favorite lens. Because this gimbal wasn't able to support my 28-70 and I don't have the 24-70 yet, the longest lens I did have on it was a 50. There was only one or two times that I wish I had a little bit longer of a reach, but I do think that a 24-70 will find its way into my arsenal very soon, and that will probably live on my camera for an entire wedding day, and I wouldn't have to change it out at all. So if I ever get my hands on it, I'll be all set. And if I was going with a 70-200 anyway, I'd probably be putting that on a tripod just because 70-200 is so big to begin with. Putting that on a gimbal, I'm not expecting it to be able to handle that because there's no way you're gonna get it to balance with how long it is. Throughout the wedding day, I did not feel the burden of the weight of this camera or the lens or the gimbal. It felt good in my hands. This is a very comfortable grip. I have pretty big hands and I feel very comfortable hanging on to this. Another nice little feature is up here, this wheel in the front. It's customizable, and I personally set mine to aperture. So when I was shooting the wedding and we were going from different scenes, I was able to very quickly change my aperture by just rolling this wheel, and I didn't actually have to touch the camera in order to change those settings. And like I said in the last video, the Bluetooth function, being able to start and stop recording by just hitting the record button on the back of the gimbal that's wirelessly connected to the camera, is very nice because then I don't have to be poking at my camera every time I want to start and stop recording. That's a huge plus for me. Now, recommending this for wedding professionals. Who is this for? If you're somebody who uses smaller mirrorless cameras and don't need massive lenses, this is perfect for you. This supports up to 6.6 pounds or 3 kilograms, which is pretty good payload for being such a small gimbal. Also, a new trendy thing going on in the wedding industry is having content creators at your weddings. And if you're a content creator for weddings, this is awesome. This thing is perfect because a lot of content creators are either shooting on a cell phone or a smaller mirrorless camera, and this gimbal will easily handle anything that you're shooting on. And in my last video, I said that this gimbal is perfect for real estate photographers because of how easy it is to go from horizontal to vertical shooting. And if you're a wedding photographer who happens to also shoot real estate, this gimbal will easily get the job done for both of those. And people who I would recommend staying away from it, if you're somebody who's shooting weddings with a larger cinema camera, like if you're in the Canon world and you're shooting on a C70, or maybe you're shooting with an FX3, I would recommend staying away from this because it's going to struggle handling those larger bodies. Or if you're somebody who does like to shoot with those bigger lenses, maybe you're using cinema lenses, or you do want that 70-200 on a gimbal, this is not the gimbal for you. You're gonna have to look other places. And let me know if you're thinking about picking one of these up. With cameras getting smaller and smaller nowadays, all of our gear seems to be getting lighter and lighter, so there's no reason to carry around a big gimbal when it's not necessary, when a gimbal this size can support everything that I need for shooting a wedding. Don't forget, until July 7th, you're gonna save 10% on this gimbal, and I have a code down below to save yourself an additional 10%. Be sure to check that out if you are interested. If you found any of this information helpful in making your decision about buying this gimbal, I would love it if you could give me a like below. And guess who's here? It's the rule of the YouTube channel. Every time I get a visitor, he's gotta make an appearance. Buddy came to say hi. Say hi, bud. Say, woof. Say, until the next video, see you later. Peace. And if you're wondering, yeah, my dog talks. He's not actually growling. That's how he talks to us. Okay, that's it. See you later.